Okay, we are ready for our evening Bhagavad Gita class. And we're going to be starting with the sixth chapter, verse 7 of the Bhagavad Gita today. So let us start. All right, and we will chant Jai Radhamadava. Jai Radhamadava Kunja Bihari Jai Radhamadava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Malabha Giri Baradhari Gopi Jana Malabha Giri Baradhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Baradhagudi Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Baradhagudi Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radhamad Uma Kunya Bihari Jaya Radhamad Uma Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya, also Teta Satashi Shibad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanad Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radhakrishna Go Bhagavata Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturanam Ki Jai, Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai, Munamai Ki Jai, Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Go. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Mam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni. So Om Gana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, let us start our Bhagavad Gita studies for tonight from the 6th chapter. We'll share the screen. Beginning with text 7. Here we go. All right. And as we mentioned yesterday, the 6th chapter has a lot to do with Hatha Yoga for you Hatha Yoga fans. And it also has a lot to do with showing you that many of the processes of Hatha Yoga are not practical for most of you Hatha Yoga fans. But it's good exercise. So, let us start. Text 7, and let me turn my phone off before the phone people harass me. Jitatmana prasantasya paramatma samahitaha sitochna sukha dukkeshu tata mana manayoho. Jitatmanaha, of one who has conquered the mind, prasantasya, who has attained tranquility by such control over the mind, Panama Atma, the super soul, Samahita, approach completely to Ta, Sita in cold, Ushna, heat, Sukha, happiness, Dukeshu, in distress, to Ta also, Mana and honor, Apamanio. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. For such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are the same. Did we read this yesterday? No. Okay. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. When the mind is misled by the external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga systems, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of Paramatma or Supersoul. Because this transcendental position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress and happiness, cold and heat, etc. This state is practical samadhi, or absorption in the Supreme. Text 8. All right. Jnana vijnana triptatma kutasto vijitendriya yukta ityuchate yogi samalustrashma kanchanaha. Jnana by acquired knowledge, vijnana unrealized knowledge, tripta satisfied, atma a living entity, kutashta spiritually situated, vijita indriyaha sensually controlled, yukta competent for self-realization. Iti thus, uchate is said, yogi a mystic, sama equipoised, lustra pebbles, ashva stone, kanchana gold. A person is said to be established in self-realization is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Of course, it doesn't mean that actually he treats pebbles, stones, and gold as the same, but he sees them as the same in terms of their being Krishna's energy and meant to be engaged in Krishna's service. So, purport. Book knowledge without realization of the Supreme Truth is useless. This is stated as follows. Atakshi Krishna Dhamadi Nabhave Grahimandriya Sevamukehi Jivado Swayameva Spurachida. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. That's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234. This Bhagavad Gita is the science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna conscious simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge by the grace of Krishna because he is satisfied with pure devotional service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions, but by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by apparent contradictions. In other words, simply studying the Vedic literatures or studying bhakti is not enough. One has to practice, and one has to get the blessings of a pure devotee. In this way, it is realized, it is revealed to a person, and one will not become deluded. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. Okay, next verse. Suren mitrar yudasina madhyasta dvesha bandhushu sadushvape cha papeshu samabhudir vishishate. Surit, to well-wishers by nature, mitra, benefactors with affection, ari, enemies, udasina, neutrals between belligerents, madhyastha, mediators between belligerents, dvesha, the envious, bandhushu, and the relatives or well-wishers, sadhushu, unto the pious, api, as well as, cha, and papeshu, unto the sinners, samabhudihi, having equal intelligence, vishishate, is far advanced. So a person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with equal mind. Now, I think that requires some explanation. It doesn't mean that he interacts with them all in the same way. He's a very practical person. A pure devotee, which is being described here, is a practical person. So he engages people who are favorable in Krishna consciousness, and those who are not favorable, he neglects or avoids. It's simple as that. But as far as his attitude and his compassion and his understanding of their underlying spiritual nature, that's equal. So he has to function on different levels. That's the point I'm making. A pure devotee cannot just function on one level. Of course, we gave the example the other day of someone who realizes their eternal spiritual nature in the spiritual world and at the same time has to function in this world. So it's sort of disconnect, because there may not be any connection between the two other than service to Krishna. For example, many times people ask the question when they're initiated as to whether their spiritual name indicates anything that has anything to do with their spiritual nature in the spiritual world. And the answer is generally no, it doesn't. Because the spiritual name you get is given by the spiritual master, and it indicates you're a servant of Krishna. And it may indicate something to do with your nature in this world, or in a very special case, which is extremely rare, it may indicate something in the spiritual realm, but I sort of doubt it in most cases. It simply indicates you're a servant of Krishna. That's it. And so we can understand there's a wide disparity between what we're doing in this world and what we're going to do in the spiritual world. So we have to function, the point is, we have to function on different levels. We see everybody as the same. I mean, you may see a tiger as the same as your children, for example, in one way, but you don't go play with a tiger. That's common sense. So you have to use your intelligence how to function in this world, but on a higher spiritual level, you have that vision of equality, which is actually the vision in the mode of goodness. Text 10. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki atachitatma nirashirat parigraha. Yogi, a transcendentalist, Yunjita, must concentrate in Krishna consciousness, satatam, constantly, atmanam, himself, by body, mind, and self. Rahasi, here we go, in a secluded place, stita, being situated, ekaki, alone. Yathachitta atma, always careful in mind, yarashihi, without being attracted by anything else, aparigraha, free from the feeling of possessiveness. Translation. A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relation with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness. These are prerequisites. Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We spoke about that before. Brahman is the all-pervading energy of the Lord. Paramatma is Krishna's expansion in everyone's heart, and Supreme Personality of Godhead, SPOG for short, that is Krishna in his personal feature. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman, or the localized super soul, are also partially Krishna conscious, because impersonal Brahman is the spiritual ray or effulgence of Krishna, and super soul is the all-pervading partial expansion of Krishna that is in everyone's heart and every atom. Thus the impersonalist and the meditator, meditator, are also indirectly Krishna conscious. That's interesting. A directly Krishna conscious person is the topmost transcendentalist because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of the absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. In other words, they only know one aspect of the absolute truth, whereas a Krishna conscious devotee knows all three aspects of the absolute truth. Nevertheless, all of these are instructed herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuits so that they may come to the highest perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna and not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called samadhi, or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that affect his realization. And in perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation. So that sounds frightening. Self-abnegation doesn't mean you just think negatively about yourself, but you think positively and try to serve Krishna, and then you don't worry about yourself. Krishna takes care of that one. Wherein there's very little chance for material possessiveness. Srila Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way. Anashaktasha vishayan yatarham upayunjata nirvanda Krishna sambandhe yuktavairagyam uchate aprapanchakataya buddhya harisambandhi vostunaha mamukshavi parityado vairagyam pagukachate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. In other words, real renunciation means everything belongs to Krishna. And if something is used in Krishna's service, it is spiritual. I was listening to a Prabhupada memory today, or a memory that someone had of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was on this television show, and they asked Prabhupada, if you are so spiritual, why did you come here in a car? And Prabhupada answered in a very bold way. He said that if we use the car in Krishna's service, it becomes spiritual or spiritualized. In other words, it's Krishna's energy. It's meant to serve him. And if you don't use it when it could be used, then that means you're renouncing something that never belonged to you in the first place. And we gave that example before, that if someone renounces something that wasn't their property, that's kind of stupid. Or if someone takes something that is that is someone else's property, he's a thief. And the example Prabhupada gave in that same regard is if someone drops his money on the street or a wallet on the street, an honest person will actually take the wallet and find the owner and give it back. A dishonest person will take it for himself. A foolish person will simply say, I renounce it. I could have it, but I renounce it. But he doesn't have the ability to renounce something that never belonged to him in the first place. A Krishna conscious person knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his own personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. He's always aloof from material things because he's always transcendental, and he's always alone, having nothing to do with persons not in Krishna consciousness. He avoids bad association. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. So I'm going a little fast because a lot of these explanations in the purports are repetitive. And we need to hear them again and again, but I think everybody understands them. Next verse. Shuchal deshe pratishtapya stiramasanamatmanaha natyutritam nati nicham chailakjina kushottaram tatraikagram mana kritva yata jitendriya kriyaha upavishyasanayunjad yogamatma vishuddhaye. Shuchau, in a sanctified deshe land, pratishtapya, placing, stiram, firm, asanam, seat, atmanaha, his own, na, not, atitu, utritam, high, na, nor, atitu, nicham, low, chaila, ajina, of soft cloth and deerskin, kusha and kusha grass, uttaram, covering, tatra, thereupon, eka, agram, with one attention, manaha, mind, kritva, making, jata chitta, controlling the mind, indriya, senses, kriya, and activities, upavishya, sitting, asane, on the seat, yunjat, should execute, yoga, yogam, yoga, practice, atma, the heart, vishuddhaye, for clarifying. To practice yoga, one should go, again, the secluded place is mentioned, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deerskin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So, purport, sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees, all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavana, Rishikesh, and Haridwar, and in solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like the Yamuna and Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Brihan Naradiya Purana, it is said that in Kali Yuga, the present Yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritual realization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. And the quote, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Iva Kevalam, Kalo Nyasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. Actually, in the Vedas, it says that if you say something 3 times, it's like, that's it. Confirmation. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. And that's the way we become Krishna conscious. And if someone does want to practice Hatha Yoga in the proper way, it does mean going to a secluded place and basically sitting down in a certain asana, as we mentioned before, yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, and not really interacting socially with anybody else. And that's a very difficult process. So this is the first difficulty right here that's mentioned. Text 13 to 14. Samam kaya shiro grivam darayan chalam stira sampreksha nasikagram swam dishaschana valokayan vashantatma vikatabhir brahmachari vrite stitaha manasam yam yamachito yuk Tasit matraha. Samam, straight, kaya, body. Shira, head. Grivam, and neck. Darayan, holding. Achalam, unmoving. Stira, still. Sampreksha, looking. Nasika, at the nose. Agram, at the tip. Swam, own. Dishaha, on all sides. Cha, also. Anavalokayan, not looking. Prashanta, unagitated. Atma, mind. Vigata bihi, devoid of fear, brahmachari, vrite, in the vow of celibacy, stitaha, situated, manaha, mind, samyamya, completely subduing, mat, upon me, Krishna, chitta, concentrating the mind, yuktaha, the actual yogi, asita, should sit, matme, paraha, the ultimate goal. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose, thus with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Remember, what's being described here is the Ashtanga Yoga process, not necessarily the Bhakti Yoga process. We don't have to sit and stare. And we mentioned before that one stares at the tip of the nose because that way you have half-closed eyes, so you don't see any nonsense out there that you become attracted to, and also, if you close your eyes completely, you go to sleep. So that was mentioned in the previous class. So this is very, very difficult process, and it doesn't mean just meditate upon Krishna within the heart and making him the ultimate goal for a few minutes a day. That means basically that's what you got to do the whole day. You know, you could take a break, take a shower or something like that, or take a little rest. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated in the heart of every living being, as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. Vishnu Murti basically means, Murti means form. And Vishnu means the expansion of Krishna. Sometimes we say Lord Vishnu, but it says Shirodakshai Vishnu, which is a technical word for Vishnu who resides on the shore of the Shira Ocean. Anyway, that's another subject matter. And he has 4 arms. You may say 4 arms. I've never seen anyone with 4 arms. Of course you haven't seen any human being with 4 arms. Maybe you have. But in any case, what's so amazing about that? Krishna has animals with 1,000 arms or legs. They're called millipedes, and 100 centipedes. So that's not so amazing. You know, bugs have so many different arms, legs, wings, different things like that. I think mosquitoes. Anyway, I haven't looked at a mosquito too closely recently. But that, it's not so amazing. So that's the form of the expansion of Krishna resides in everyone's heart. To realize, so the reason people meditate on that form of Krishna within their heart is generally they're looking for some form of power. These are called yoga siddhis. Siddhi means power. And we've mentioned this many times before. Power to make yourself very small, make yourself very big. For example, you have Hanuman, this famous personality in the Ramayana, who had all these yogic powers. Actually, he was a pure devotee of Krishna. And pure devotees of Krishna automatically have all yogic powers, although they may not manifest them. So Hanuman had all these yogic powers, and sometimes he could make himself really small. When he was going to Lanka, and he wanted to sneak into Lanka. Lanka is actually the city of Ravan, this great demon. So he made himself very, 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 very tiny. But he was seen by Lankini, the guard of the city of Lanka, when he was trying to sneak in under the gate. And she said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I'm Lankini, and I'm guarding. Nobody gets through me." And basically, she tried to slap Hanuman, and he slapped her, and he was little, tiny. She fell to the ground and realized that was the end of Ravan. And then at other times, he could make himself very light. He is known as Vayuputra, which means the son of the wind, so he can actually float in the wind. And he was able to go like hundreds of miles or thousands of miles. Actually, one time he went thousands of miles. He was able to go all the way from Lanka, which is, I think you know where Ceylon or Lanka, Sri Lanka is right now, all the way to the Himalayas to get some medicine to cure Lakshman. So he had these yogic powers. And he could make himself powerful, small, swift as the wind. This is a real Superman. So sometimes people practice yoga for that particular purpose. Although nowadays we very rarely come across such a person. They may have a little mystic power. Sometimes we find people who practice and they have some little mystic powers, and they can just like produce some vibhutis or make flames come from their hair or something like that. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we were mentioning the other day, had confronted someone like that, and he put him in jail because he was using his mystic powers to take advantage of young girls and call himself God. And here it probably continues with the difficulty. To realize this Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home, live alone in a secluded place, remain seated, as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. That type of yoga. Someone who's in household life is a different thing in bhakti yoga. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, of which sex life is the chief. In the rules of celibacy for yoga, written by the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasa vacha sarva vashtasu sarvatra maitana tyagdo brahmacharyam chakshate. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence in work, words, and mind at all times, under all circumstances, in all places. No one can perform the correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukul, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. And the girls are also trained to brahmacharinis. Without such practice, no one can make advancement in any yoga, whether it's jnana, or bhakti. One, whoever follows the rules and regulations of married life, having a sexual relationship only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called a brahmachari. Such a restrained household of brahmachari may be accepted in the bhakti school, But the Jnana and Dhyana schools do not even admit householder brahmacharis. So that's advice for all of you. Just better become bhakti yogis. They require a complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. In other words, it's not significant. In the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, text 59, it is said, and we had read that text some time ago, Vishaya vinivartante niha harasha dehina rasovarjam rasopyasha paramdrisha nivartate. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of a superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. So this important principle. Vigata bihi. One cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. A conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. So what is he fearful of? He's fearful. Fearful means fearful of the future. What about this? What can happen? But when one is convinced that Krishna is protecting one is maintaining one, then what's to be afraid of? Like, for example, one thing that people are very much afraid of because they don't know what's going to happen is death. Very fearful. But if one is a devotee, if one is Krishna conscious, one has pure knowledge, then that's not fearful. It's like getting another set of clothes. Like every day, we change our clothes, maybe more than once a day sometimes. And I'm not that I'm afraid, oh my God, I got to give up this dhoti. Oh, I am so attached to this. So you just send it to the cleaners. Of course, you can't send your body to the cleaners and have it come out new and fresh. That's the only problem. But after a while, even if you send your clothes to the cleaners, the clothes become holy. And then you got to get rid of them. The Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, text 37, says, Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata shat isha piktasya viparyayos smriti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna-conscious person is already the best of yogis. The principles of the yoga system mentioned herein are different from those of the popular so-called yoga societies. I mean, as far as fearlessness, here's an example. Prabhupada came to the Western world, and he had basically no money, a few rupees, which is worth about $10, which he never was able to change. Didn't know where he was going. Didn't even know if there was going to be food here for him. Actually, he came with a whole bunch of oats in case there weren't any vegetarian foodstuffs in the United States. But he was fearless, following the order of his spiritual master. And of course, his name indicates that. Abhaya Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vastati. Because he understood Krishna was protecting him. That's a symptom of surrender. Krishna's protecting him, Krishna's maintaining him. And another story is Haridas Thakur was meditating in a cave, and there was a big snake there. And the snake was so poisonous that his breath was really bad. Nobody else wanted to go in. Everybody was afraid. So they said to Haridas Thakur, can you leave the cave? And he said, I'll leave it, but unless the snake leaves first. So the snake, respecting him, offered its dandavats. Of course, the snake is already offering dandavats all the time, and left the cave. So devotee is protected. If you really want to be protected from snakes, you worship Govardhan Hill. Then you get that special benediction that you will be protected from snakes. So next text, Yunjan evam saratmanam yogi niyata manasaha Shantim nirvana paramam mat samstam adhigacchati. Yunjum, practicing eva as mentioned above, sada, constantly, atmanam, body, mind, and soul, yogi, the mystic transcendentalist, niyata manasaha, with a regulated mind, shantim, peace, nirvana paramam, cessation of material existence, mat samstam, the spiritual sky, the kingdom of God, adhigacchati, does attain. So translation, thus practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. So this is the yoga system again. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He's controlling his body, mind, and activities, and controlling mind is regulated. That's a repetition. It goes back to Godhead by cessation of material activities or material existence and enacting spiritual activities. Purport, the ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into the void. Void means the nothingness, which is only a myth. In other words, no such thing as a void. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, the cessation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The abode of the Lord is also clearly described in Bhagavad Gita as that place where there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. In other words, it's self-effulgent. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illumined, as your Prophet is saying the same thing, like the sun and the material sky. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Param Dhamma. That means the supreme or superior place or abodes. A consummate yogi, means topmost yogi, who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly stated herein by the Lord himself, Machita, Matpara, Matstanam. So the mat refers to the personal pronoun me, like my this, my place, etc. Can attain real peace and can ultimately reach his supreme abode, Krishna Loka, known as Goloka Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita, in the 5th chapter, text 37, it is clearly stated, Goloka eva nivashat yakilatma bhutaha. The Lord, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma as well by dint of his superior spiritual energies. In other words, Krishna, to give a direct translation of this, Krishna never leaves his abode in the spiritual world, but he expands himself to go to these other places. Wherever Krishna goes is Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna in his original form is Goloka Vrindavan. Even when Krishna manifests Vrindavan here on this earth planet, that place is non-different than Goloka in the spiritual world. No one can reach the spiritual sky by Vaikuntha. So Vaikuntha here refers to everything except for the material world, because Vaikuntha means basically freedom from kuntha or anxiety, or enter into the Lord's eternal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, without the proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansion, Vishnu. In other words, to know Krishna, you have to know his expansions, his pastimes, his devotees. These are called some of the tattvas. Tattva means the actual essential eternal items that form the basis of what we call sambandha gyan. It means the foundational knowledge upon which all the other knowledge in Krishna consciousness is based. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna's activities. Savai mana Krishna pada ravindayoho. That's from the Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter, text 18. In the Vedas also, in the Svetasvatara Upanishad 3.8, we learn tam eva viditvati mrityum eti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So one can only understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, if one hears about Krishna in disciplic succession from an authorized representative of the disciplic succession, the spiritual master. In other words, Perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to befool innocent people. Here Prabhupada is referring to what was present when Prabhupada wrote the Bhagavad Gita, and still present to a certain extent, that you had certain yogis who could do some mystical tricks, and they were able to amass a large amount of money and amass a lot of followers. And really, they weren't teaching people about the ultimate goal in life. The ultimate goal, or the purpose, let's say more precisely, the purpose of life. Why are we here? Or what happens at the time of death? Where did we come from? Why are we suffering? And how do we achieve the ultimate goal? So these are important things that were not taught, or if they taught things like that, they were simply mental speculation meant to acquire followers. Text 16. Not yasnatastu yogosti nachai kantam anashnataha nachati swapna shilasya jagato nayavacharjuna. Not, never, ati, too much, ashnataha, of one who eats, too, but yogaha, linking with the Supreme, asti, there is, na, nor, cha, also, ekantam, overly, anashnataha, abstaining from eating, na, nor, cha, also, ati, too much, swapna shilasya, one who sleeps, jagataha, or one who keeps night watch, too much. That's an interesting statement. Not, an interesting word for that particular translation. Not, avis, ever, cha, and Arjuna, or Arjuna. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi or Arjuna if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much, or does not sleep enough. Very, very important point. So I'm going to comment on that. First, I'm going to tell the story about Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha was a prince, Prince Siddhartha. Okay, so Lord Buddha's, or the astrology that was there, that foretold Lord Buddha's life, said that Lord Buddha was going to become a renunciate when he was a little baby. So as he was born, the expert astrologers told his future. And his parents, being the king and queen, were really upset with that. They thought, we don't want our child to renounce everything and become a sage. We want him to enjoy opulence. So what they did is they protected Buddha from seeing, or Siddhartha at that time, from seeing anything connected with the miseries of the material world. They prohibited old people from coming into the castle area. I would not have been allowed to come in. They prohibited dead bodies or people who are sick from coming in. And so Buddha led a very charmed youth. And he was just going around thinking, everything is wonderful. Then one day he got on his chariot, went out, and he saw various things that his parents didn't want him to see. He saw a dying person, a dead body, a sick person, and a person experiencing miseries. And he just asked the chariot driver or his assistant, what's this? And he said, well, it's a part of life. That's life, Prabhu. And he decided at that point, I'm going to head for the hills. And he left everything, his princess, his mother, his father, his kingdom, everything, and engaged in really harsh austerities. And he became thinner, and practically died. And he was at the verge of death, and someone brought him some milk, probably some sweet rice or something like that. And then he had the realization, this is not the way. These harsh austerities are not the way to achieve God realization. And then he came upon what's called the middle path, which is the same thing as being described here. Not to eat too much, to eat too little, Not to sleep too much, not to sleep too little, but to be moderate. Mityahara viharasya. Very, very important. So then the question arises, how do you know when you're eating too much? How do you know when you're eating too little? How do you know when you're sleeping too much? How do you know when you're sleeping too little? Well, it's quite easy to understand. Like if you eat too much, your mind will be agitated and you will be lethargic. How about that? And you will grow horizontally. And if you eat too little, then you'll be weak. Your mind will be just like really out of control. I mean, there's other ways of knowing too, but there's practical ways of knowing how much you should eat. Sleeping is very similar. If you sleep too much, then you also get very lethargic and lazy and dull. And if you sleep too little, you'll start forgetting things. Your mind won't function too much. You'll get spaced out. While you're driving a car, you'll fall asleep and get in an accident. I mean, it's really common sense. I mean, people need to figure that out for themselves. Of course, many times you'll hear devotees using insofar as sleep is concerned, they'll say, well, anybody who sleeps more than 6 hours a night is in the mode of ignorance. That's a general statement. Of course, Prabhupada made that statement, but that's a general statement. At other times, Prabhupada said, you have to sleep whatever you need. And Prabhupada said that if one's driving a car, they should probably sleep about 7.5, 8 hours a night. Because so many devotees died in car accidents trying to sleep 6 hours or less. I mean, it's very, very practical. So everybody has their own quota of sleeping and eating. Prabhupada also said, you can eat like an elephant if you can work like an elephant. I mean, for example, this is actually funny. I spent some time in Fiji. Hopefully I can go back there soon when this coronavirus is over. And most of the devotees or their families, before they actually started living in the cities, they were farmers. So they would, in the morning, they would have this really heavy breakfast. I probably would call it killer breakfast. And one time they gave Prabhupada a very heavy breakfast. And Prabhupada said, what is this, breakfast or break head? So anyway, so the families, because they needed that heavy breakfast. I mean, you're out there in the fields cutting sugar cane all day long. You better have a lot of energy stored up. But what happened is that after they moved to the city, they continued with the same eating practices. A big, heavy breakfast, chapatis for breakfast. I mean, it's just like, you can see this in Fiji. They call them rotis, of course. Rotis and rice and this and that. And as a result, there is an extremely high incidence of obesity, diabetes. I mean, Fiji has one of the highest incidents, not only the people from India, but the natives there, has one of the highest incidences per capita, that is, of diabetes. It is one of the highest in the world, if not the highest in the world, and that so many people are getting parts, legs and feet amputated because of diabetes or kidney failure, and so many problems are occurring, blindness and things like that, because their diet has not been adjusted to be in accordance with their lifestyle. That's really the point. So if you're going to work hard, then you eat much more. I mean, when I was young and running around doing many more things, I ate much more. But metabolism is slowing down now as you get older. And I'm not running around as much as I used to, so eat less. It's like that. It's just like if you have a car. If you're driving long distances, you're going to need to put more fuel in. But if you put more fuel in when you're not driving long distances, let's say the car is just sitting there, it's going to spill over, and unfortunately, you may have an explosion. Obviously, if gasoline catches fire, your car is on fire. So don't eat more than necessary and don't sleep more than necessary. At certain times, if you're sick, you may need to sleep more. It's just practical. If you're a little child, you need to sleep more. You can't force a child to get by on 6 hours of rest. They need, 8 hours, 9 hours, or even more of rest every day. So anyway, so it's variable. Don't apply one rule to everybody. I remember my godbrother, Jayananda Prabhu, who worked like anything, day and night, arranging for Ratha Yatras and all this other stuff. Amazing devotee, and he would eat like anything. He would eat was peanut butter halva day and night. He would wake up at midnight and be eating. Okay, I know I've spoken a lot about this eating, but I think it's very important for us to understand this principle. Let's see, the purport's long. I think, oh no, we can read the purport because it's almost time to end. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is ample foodstuff, supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. The Prabhupada went to Russia and he was asking them, why do you eat so much meat? And they said, you want to be strong like tigers. The Prabhupada said, that's what they're going to be. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bunjate te tvagam papa ye pachantyatmakarana. So this is another verse from the Gita. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. Eating sin means you're getting a karmic reaction. I don't want to use that sin so much in a Christian sense, but in the sense that it's bad karma. Remember the word vikarma? It's bad karma, bad reaction. And eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice. So one may question, what do I do if I have to visit my mother? Of course, she doesn't cook anymore, but when I visit my mother, I would offer in my mind, she would offer vegetarian food to me, and then in my mind, I would say, Krishna, please accept this, and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating manufacture his own personal process of fasting practice yoga. He'll go crazy. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. Like I said, that is a general statement, and that refers to people in certain bodies who can get by the 6 hours. For many of us, including myself, we can't do that. Just practically, you just can't do that. If I did that, I would get sick. My immune system would go down, and there'd be other problems too. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. So that's a general thing. Generally, we see that people who are born in India need less sleep than people in the Western world. And Prabhupada did many times give practical instructions to devotees to sleep more. That's very practical. So a person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. So don't worry about that one. It's very important to understand that we all have different bodies. Some people can get by and 4 hours a night. You find great yogis who are sleeping like great devotees, like Raghunath Das Goswami, an hour and a half, sometimes not even that. Prabhupada, a few hours a night. He would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning to write his books. So everybody's different. Don't try to apply the same standard to everybody. Take things out of context, even things that Prabhupada has said. So then we'll end right now. We're actually a little later than normal. So let's take some questions. I will free you up so you can ask questions. Just 1 second. I think someone may have questions about sleeping. Okay, who has questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can find you.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're Hawaii.
I just wanted to ask you. You can hear me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can even see your phone. So Hawaii Nova 3I.
All right. I got to take that off, do I?
That's your identity. No, you don't have to take it off. That's a nice name to have.
Okay. Yeah. Maharaj, I was just wanting to ask you a question about when we see in Prabhupada's purports that he says you must or you should, is that specifically meaning to a certain devotee or individual on their service, or is that for a broader perspective? How do we understand that?
That's interesting. That's something called hermeneutics. What I would say when you read a must or should or have to, it's important to consult with older devotees who actually have had association with Prabhupada, who have a broader view, who basically know how Prabhupada applied that particular statement.
Okay.
I mean, you can't really just take one statement out of context and apply it in all circumstances. You need some guidance or help in applying that. You have a nice house, but I can't see you.
Yeah, it's just come off again. I'm not sure what's happened here.
Yeah, you probably have the other side of the phone camera rather than the front side. Anyway, that's all right. Your house looks nice.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So we need guidance. Yeah, so that one can get very confused, like these different statements that Prabhupada makes. And, they're general statements, they're Shastric statements. At the same time, they need to be applied according to time, place, and circumstance. Like there's a Shastric statement that a sannyasi should not cross an ocean, and Prabhupada crossed an ocean. So there's higher priority and lower priority things. So in order to understand, as it's described in the Mahabharata, Mahajana Yena Gata Supanta, one has to approach a Mahajana or great devotee to understand how to apply those different injunctions. I remember this is funny, in the beginning days of the movement, we applied the no more than 6 hours very, very strictly. And it was quite interesting to see devotees collapsing in the middle of Bhagavatam class. Sometimes we'd be giving the Bhagavad, or someone would be giving the Bhagavatam class, and we hear a crash in the back of the class. And someone who needed more than 6 hours a night, or basically he had some sleep apnea because he couldn't get proper sleep at night, he would just go. And then some classes, all the devotees had to be standing up and pacing so they wouldn't fall asleep. And eventually the devotees learned how to sleep with their eyes closed, so sitting up straight. They became great yogis. Eyes open, go to sleep. Anyway, so I think, things have to be applied with some intelligence, and requires guidance to apply these injunctions with some intelligence. Otherwise, you end up with a wild situation with devotees crashing cars all the time and dying because they fell asleep while driving. I mean, I think Prabhupada was ultimately a very practical person. So we have to understand Prabhupada to understand how Prabhupada would apply those things. And so you approach spiritual master or some spiritualist to try to understand that. Okay, good question. That's actually a good question. How do you apply these things? So I think Sumukh is lining up for a question. All right?
Yes. You
have a question?
I have a question, Gurudev. Yes,
Yeah.
Gurudev. Okay.
Go ahead.
Regarding you talk about yoga a while ago, and there are some sitting position of the yoga and how you sit, all those things. So while chanting the holy name Maha Mantra, Do you have to consider all that?
No, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. Lord Chaitanya says that. The main thing is the hard and fast rules: don't commit the 10 offenses and meditate. But there's no time, place, and manner restrictions on chanting the holy names. Just like sometimes you can find devotees who want to do that. They just say, "Well, if you want to count your rounds, you got to be sitting down to chant." Well, there's so many stories about Prabhupada pacing back and forth or walking while he was chanting. So you find people pulling out all these different injunctions. But you can chant, as long as you're attentive, that's the main thing. I knew one devotee who would chant and he was hanging upside down from the door frame. You understand?
Yes,
Actually,
yes.
that devotee, I almost hurt him one time because I opened the door while he was hanging upside down on the door. They have this upside down thing. People want to hang upside down. There's something you put on the door. So I almost slammed him against the wall when I walked in because I didn't know he was on the door. Not a good idea. So check who's on the door before you come into any place, because it may be a good friend. All right.
Okay.
Any other?
Yes, one
No hard and
more
fast
question,
rules.
Gurudev.
Krishna
Yeah.
Gurudev.
Oh,
Thank
you were. Wait a second. Sumukhi, we have one more question. Let Sumukhi has the floor.
Yes.
What's the question?
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in chapter 3, text 5, everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore,
Yeah.
no one is different from doing something, not even for a moment. So he
That's
says
right.
here, according to the mode of material nature, which I have acquired. That's what he's trying to say. So how do I know, or how should I
You're a devotee. You're not forced to act helplessly. That's only for people who are not devotees.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Gurudev.
Don't worry, be happy. Chant Hare Krishna. I mean, that for us. We can act, mamchiyo vyavacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan sabatichaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. You can act, if you're acting under superior direction, you can act in such a way that it's not under the modes of nature. If you follow directions of your guru, whoever that may be.
Guru Maharaj, you are the
I know. It's a joke. All right, so we either got Rishikesh or Nalini
Yes,
Khan.
Gurudev.
Let's let Rishikesh go first.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Please
Okay.
accept my obeisances.
Okay.
Gurudev, just a quick question. When you walk and chant, Gurudev, can you give me a tip? How do I be attentive when I walk and chant?
Fix your mind on the holy names. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't be climbing mountains when you're walking and chant, like vertical climb. I mean, obviously, it has to be some sort of walking where you don't have to just be extremely attentive as to where you're walking. But I do that all the time. I mean, on the Kadasi, when I chant 64 rounds, I do 90% of that. I'm doing walking. And
Gurudev, when the eyes are open, it looks everywhere and just attention just goes away. So I'm not sure,
well, be somewhere where your eyes don't look every. I mean, you have to. I mean, don't chant your rounds inside the mall. In other words, the shopping center. I mean, if I go out in the forest, I can chant my rounds in the forest, and I'm not just looking at every tree and admiring the beauty of every tree. I'm just, I'm in the mode of goodness, or the forest is in the mode of goodness, so it helps my chanting. Or if I'm walking around Govardhan, I'm concentrating on the holy name. I mean, it's just as difficult to sit and chant when you've got to struggle with your mind. Actually, what I've discovered is sometimes it's easier to struggle to actually control the mind if the body is active. I mean, everybody's different. I'm not going to say this has to be for everybody, Rishikesh, but for me, and Prabhupada actually, whenever Prabhupada was disturbed by something, he wouldn't just sit and chant. He would actually pace back and forth. Whenever there's some problem in, let's say in Mumbai, or Bombay, as they used to call it, Prabhupada, and devotees were causing trouble, and Prabhupada would pace back and forth and chant loudly, Hare Krishna. And there's stories are told by Shruti Kirti and other people like this. So, but whatever way you can hear better. If you hear better by bungee jumping, then go bungee jumping. I don't know. I mean, that's up to you. I'm not going to apply a hard and fast rule. These things, whatever way you can concentrate and give your heart to Krishna when chanting, then do it, as long as it's not drinking alcohol or smoking marijuana or any stupid thing like that. Okay, Nalini Kant, you have a question.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for nice class. Gurudev, I have 3 questions. Gurudev, text 8, in the purport, is only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to Lord are the transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord revealed to him.
Yes.
Does it correlate with one of the stage? Like, is it nishtha?
Spiritually saturated and all the pastimes revealed, that means prema.
Okay, Gurudev.
I mean, you can have some revelation. Yeah, at Nishta you got revelation. You can start meditating. You can do Raganuga Bhakti, certainly. But prema means all the pastimes are revealed. Wow. That's prema. Then you got a spiritual television. You don't need the internet anymore. You just save money by cutting off your internet connection at that point. All right. So come on. You had 3 questions.
Gurudev, that means Nishtha, you mentioned a couple of classes before that a constitutional position can be revealed with the help of spiritual master.
Yes, when one's at Nishta. Nishta means steadiness 24/7, right?
Okay, Gurudev. Gurudev, next one.
Are you at Nishta now?
No, Gurudev, I'm neophyte.
All right, so ask me when you get to Nishta. Just you can ask me.
Gurudev, second thing, yesterday we were discussing about Anshul Prabhu. He asked about Lord Shiva's question. So if someone says that, okay, I mean, we Hare Krishnas are saying that other scriptures are not bona fide because it has been modified, and if they ask questions to us, how do we respond to that, Gurudev? That how
well, the point is you have to see if your scripture has been passed down through the succession. Even the Mahabharata, and I made that point many times before, has been changed radically. There's like 84 different versions of the Mahabharata. The basic story is always there. There's the Pandavas, there's the Kurus, there's, Kunti and Draupadi and, the main personalities in the war. But there's so many details. Like in North India, one North Indian Mahabharata, you have Parashara Muni having a relationship with Satyavati in the middle of the Jamuna River, and Vyasadeva is born. In the South Indian version of the Mahabharata, you have Parashara Muni having a regular fire sacrifice and big marriage with Satyavati. You understand?
Yes.
So and Madhvacharya states that. It's not coming from my imagination. Madhvacharya is the one who actually states that the Mahabharata has been tampered with.
Okay.
So, what to speak of the Mahabharata, which is practically the most popular literature in India at this point, other than the Ramayana and the Gita. The Gita has been passed down to succession. And then you have all these Puranas. And also another thing is some of the Puranas are meant for those in the mode of ignorance. You know, to encourage people in the mode of ignorance to come to a higher level. Just like you have injunctions that if you want to eat meat, you could offer a goat to the goddess Kali once a month. So, you know, there's different injunctions for different people. Just like you send your children to nursery school, but you're not going to nursery school, you know, because you're at a different level. You went to medical school. So that's another point which Prabhupada brought out very often about the different Puranas being some for those in the mode of ignorance, some for those in the mode of passion, some for those in the mode of goodness. And in the Bhagavatam, it describes how to differentiate between a Mahapurana, you know, a great Purana, and just like a secondary Purana. So it's very complicated. The Bhagavatam deals with it. But in any case, I mean, if someone presents specific verses from their version of the Shiva Purana, I can deal with it. But the main thing is they're saying the Shiva Purana says this, but they can't quote it. Sanskrit.
Yes.
You know, they could say so many things. I could say the Bhagavad Gita says, like Mahatma Gandhi, bless his heart, Mahatma Gandhi said the Bhagavad Gita is a text on nonviolence. You know, you can use Shastras by taking things out of context to prove anything you want. But when you ask people for an actual quote in Sanskrit, they usually can't come up with it. Whoops. Someone just fainted. It's terrible. We didn't want to lose anybody today. So, okay, I think we have to end because it's
Gurudev,
late.
just
Wow.
third question. Sorry. Or
Oh yeah, one more question. You have to pay for this. So anyway.
Gurudev, while you were talking about brahmachari and how they have to follow celibacy, and for householders, we often read and mention many times that it has to be regulated. So regulated means just to beget children, otherwise not.
I don't want to get into it. That I'm a sannyasi. I'm a sannyasi. I don't go into other people's bedrooms. I stay in my own bedroom. Anyway, there's different levels of renunciation in household life, and I'm not going to get into it. It's just like, oh my God. It's a deep, dark ditch.
But as per Shastra, Gurudev,
I'm happy if people are married and they, you know, and they just don't go to the bars at night or something. That's a step up in Kali Yuga. You know, so let's not get into.
Okay, Gurudev. Sorry, Gurudev.
Yeah, I mean, there's different levels. Yes, there's different levels of advancement. You know, the highest levels you become a sannyasi like me, but you're not going to do it, so forget it. Anyways. so anyway, I don't. No comment. It's not my adhikar to get into these things. I am not a romantic sannyasi. Romance is for other people. Romance. What happens when the romance is over? Anyway, you better not get me started about talking about this like this. I'll show my nature as a sannyasi. When the honeymoon's over. Actually, in Spanish, they call honeymoon luna de miel. That means a moon of honey. Anyway, I just picture that. It's all gooey and everything like that, you know. then all the anyway. Don't get me into telling jokes about it.
Okay. Sorry, Gurudev.
I just picture people being stuck in honey. It's like all the bees, they land in honey and they can't take off again. All right. Don't worry, be happy. Chant Hare Krishna.
Gurudev. Hare Krishna. Then
And you'll be happy. And don't worry about anything except for chanting Hare Krishna. All right. Okay, on that happy note, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.